Welcome to the OPSQC podcast, helping entrepreneurs, innovators, and small business owners scale to profitability. The goal of this podcast is to showcase real businesses, real owners, tell their stories, learn a little, and have some fun while doing it. In today's episode, we welcome Keith Kriegler and Randy Cavaiani of Savvyuer. Savvyuer is a marketing group in the greater Chicago area. They offer a wide range of marketing services, anywhere from coaching and strategy to content creation, messaging, and digital marketing. They know how frustrating, confusing, and costly the mistakes can be for a solopreneur or a new entity starting up. They also know how successful a great marketing plan can be. It's like a rocket booster, right? Blowing away the projections, doing things that owners didn't think was possible. For full disclosure, Savvyuer is the service we use for rebranding our interactive toy offering for Parchment, which is my other business, Parchment Creation for Generations. Please welcome Keith and Randy. Randy and Keith, welcome to the OPSQC podcast. Always good to see you, and thank you for taking the time out of your busy schedules to be here.
It's great to be here, Jared. Thanks for having us.
Excellent. To start off, could you guys give the listeners a little bit of background about Savvyuer?
Sure. So what's interesting is marketing is one word that means so many different things, and it means so many different things to different people.
Yes.
I mean, think about it. Is it a Facebook ad? Is it a customer acquisition strategy? Is it helping to get distribution for your product in store? Is it an e-commerce website? The answer is it's all the above, and it's so much more. So with Savvyuer, we created it to be a cornerstone that people could turn to get pertinent information and the support that they need to make informed decisions in order to grow their businesses. The one thing about Savvyuer that we all realize is we're entrepreneurs too, first of all, and we have a passion for marketing. So just like an entrepreneur has a passion for their business, we could help them market and promote their products and services. And the good part about Savvyuer is, and the way that we've designed it, is with three different pillars, if you will. The first is called knowledge, and that includes conversations, which are free, and they talk about a challenge and a solution that an entrepreneur, overcame. The second are courses. And within courses, we've done all the vetting about the content, and they're all marketing focused, whether it's on social media, data analytics, research, whatever the case might be. It's all really centered around different components of marketing to help the entrepreneur get the right information so they can make an informed decision. So that's the first pillar. The second pillar is coaching. And within coaching, we have a team of experts with all practical knowledge, because the one thing that we've learned is that entrepreneurs and business owners want to learn from people that have been there, done that.
Absolutely.
Right? They've been out in the field, they understand the challenges, they know what some of the roadblocks are, and they can provide real information, practical information. And so we offer coaching services. The third piece is marketing services. Within marketing services, we provide turnkey marketing solutions and project work to help you get the project off your plate. And that could be everything from building a website to package design, to messaging, to product launches, reputation management, social media. But again, if you think about the three pillars, knowledge, coaching, and marketing services, we're a destination, which is our aspiration for business owners to come to get the information and support they need to have a clear path to grow their business.
Thank you. That draws a great baseline. So from there, can you give the listeners a little bit of a background of where the name came from?
So it's a great question. So we had a couple brainstorms, and part of it was, what do we want Savvyuer to mean to the audience? Okay. And it's all about in the know, empowering them. That was a big word that we worked with and noodled with quite a bit. Being educated, being informed, not being tactical, being very strategic. And the other part of it, Jared, quite honestly, was what domains were available because we wanted a .com.
Sure.
So for a while there, we were using what was EIQ brand. And it was a little clunky, but it was a .com. So we hung on that for a little bit. And the net of it is that didn't really go very far. So we started working with the word savvy, and everybody likes the word savvy and they know what it means, and people want to be savvy, whether it's being in the know or knowledgeable or, just polished, confident, and educated. And it really represented what we wanted. And the way that we spell Savvyuer was available as a .com. And so then we had the opportunity, which has been great, to really define what Savvyuer means. And people really like it. It's really resonated with people.
That's kind of a key thing, right? People want to name their business as something, but like you said, there's the marketing piece of, is it even available, right? Is it out there? Can you even get access to it, right? Does somebody else already have, that domain? And, these pieces we need to think about as we're creating a brand, right?
Exactly.
So how did you and Randy, maybe Randy's better fitted to answer this question, but, how did you guys find each other and co-found this?
Yeah, so interesting story. Keith and I actually met at an entrepreneurial networking event. So it was a shared group of entrepreneurs who were coming together just to exchange ideas and thoughts. And, we all did our introductions and then had some breakout sessions. And Keith and I were in the same room. So we shared our backgrounds and plans, and we found out that we both had very rich backgrounds in marketing. And Keith had been in the planning stages of, building Savvyuer for the better part of, 6 months. And the concept really intrigued me. So we had several follow-on conversations, and we concluded that we had pretty complementary skills. Keith is a great idea man, and he's got a lot of experience in sales and business development. He's great at networking. And I had been building a number of businesses, not only from a marketing perspective, but also managing operations. So the two skills really meshed well together, and it turned out to be a great match. So that was a little over a year ago.
Okay.
And since then, I think we've proven to be a pretty good tag team. So it's been fun.
You guys are a dynamic duo, that's for sure. If you don't mind my asking, do you recall which networking event it was?
Yes, that was Ink Builders.
Ink Builders. Okay.
Parind Shaw is the host for that, and he conducts regular meetings, throughout the year, and it's a great platform. He's actually building a platform that is somewhat of a matchmaking platform for investors, advisors, and entrepreneurial, minded individuals. And he does a great job of bringing people together. So yeah, Ink Builders.
That's a resounding theme with all the people I interview on the platform here is, networking is critical, establishes relationships that you never know where they're going to go. You might even start a business with somebody.
There you have it. Yep.
So, Randy, you mentioned it's about a year ago, and Keith, you were working on this for about 6 months. So how long since you guys actually formalized Savvyuer has it been in existence?
Yeah, so I would say kind of from the very beginning, the idea formulation, when idea popped into Keith's head, it was probably about 2 years ago. And then the became a limited liability corp in roughly March of 2020. And then from that point forward, the initial core team started to build out the capabilities. And we went live in August of 2020. So if you look at, our official time since we kicked the business off and made it publicly available, we've got about 9 months in. So about 2 years total in formulating and building, and then 9 months since we flipped the switch around numbers.
Being in March 2020 was kind of like the impetus for you guys really start moving forward. We're going to come back to that because building a business during COVID is a great topic, right, for entrepreneurs. I've seen so much of it this last year. So how many people actually work for your company?
So we've got 11 people from the core team, and then we've got a couple of interns that we employ as well. And the great thing about interns, we have a strong belief in that because we really get fresh perspectives that come into the company. They're very passionate, they're very dedicated, and they bring new ideas. So we're a big fan of interns in terms of really expanding your workforce. But sorry?
Absolutely. Total agreement.
We've round numbers, we've about doubled since the end of last year. So the growth has been strong, and I think Keith will talk a little bit more later, but the caliber of the people on the team is pretty amazing. So we're really pleased with the additional people who have joined us since late last year. And if you're interested in learning more about the experience we have, or who are the core team members, on our website, everything is there in the About page, so you can see the core and the various disciplines. Also on our coaching page is everyone's bio, so you can get a feeling for their area of expertise, and you'll see that the team, in composite, really has a number of different areas of expertise that really complement each other well. So it's a pretty powerful combination that is really effective for our customers.
I can attest to that. And at the end of the podcast, we will include the links to your website and to your LinkedIn profiles too, so people can reach out and learn more. Basically, did you have help forming the entity, or did you guys form the LLC on your own?
No, we had help. We sought guidance from a friend of mine who's an attorney, who provided us with guidance about which type of corporation or entity we should become, which is how we ended up with an LLC. And that's really important, that you explain your long-term vision to the attorney so they could guide you based upon whether it should be an S Corp, a C Corp, LLC, et cetera. So absolutely, we sought legal counsel.
Excellent, excellent. So I think we've established a pretty good baseline for the listeners on what Savvyuer is and the overall mission. So let's go in and do a little bit deeper dive here. So what is the most notable marketing campaign that you guys have worked on in your careers?
I think Keith has got a number that he can talk about. I'll give you mine. So I worked for 5 years for BMW Group, and much of my career was in working with small entrepreneurial, either startup companies or what I'll call incubator divisions inside a larger company. So taking that and applying it to a company like BMW was an interesting challenge. As you can imagine, a company like BMW thinks in terms of 6 or 7 year vehicle life cycles. And when you think of an agile marketing firm, and particularly one that is involved in developing software, it thinks in new builds literally on a daily basis. So getting those two things to mesh is a real challenge. But our team developed software that really integrated what you do in your personal digital life with the vehicle. So for example, if you're on your phone and you searched for a restaurant and found an address, you wirelessly send that to the vehicle. It shows up in the navigation system, and you don't have to painstakingly do all that data entry once you get into the car. Or it would automatically precondition your vehicle. So if it's very hot or very cold, it starts the engine and preheats the vehicle ahead of time so that it's comfortable when you get in. And that's all done using machine learning based on your patterns of travel. So before your commute, it automatically heats up or cools down your vehicle. So those are the kinds of services we built. But the interesting thing was the marketing plan and actually bringing that out to the market, because we had to create influence for dealers. Because if you think of a dealer is interested in selling you a vehicle, not necessarily the digital services that go along with that.
Right.
So we had to come up with really creative ideas to link those two. And then, of course, consumer marketing to create pull-through so that the consumer would go into a dealer and ask about digital services. So kind of a two-pronged, go-to-market marketing approach.
Interesting.
Yeah, we also did on the front end, extensive customer interviews and surveys to determine the types of services that were of interest, their willingness to pay. So that was all part of making sure that the investments that we made in R&D really had product market fit, before they went down that path. And then the last piece was kind of bookending that development process, was really collecting massive amounts of feedback from customers, really filtering that, prioritizing that, developing insights, and then feeding that back into the product development process so that we could improve the product. The bottom line on that, we went from 0 to over 5 million active users over a several year period. So it was a very successful end-to-end program with lots of nuances in the marketing of the program.
I would say so. And I'm a veteran of automotive. I've been through several launches with Johnson Controls myself. And it's a long design implementation. So it's very, very cumbersome for people who haven't been involved in that. So I appreciate that. And, you know, there's a whole deep dive we could probably do just on that one alone. So
For sure.
I'm gonna change it over to Keith so Keith can tell us about his most notable marketing campaign.
So I love to tell the story. So it was with UPS, and it was at the time that UPS was launching the UPS store. Okay. FedEx had just bought Kinko's. Yeah. And UPS was losing market share and trying to diversify what they were offering. So we had an opportunity here in the Chicago market to work with the regional manager and do a pilot program for them. And to simplify the story, where the initial store was located was inside an office building in downtown Chicago. And the critical part about this is you could walk by the building and never see the UPS store. I mean, yes, they had a sign and they would put a sandwich board on the sidewalk, but everybody passes by that. So what happened to be on the corner, though, was a Starbucks. And so what we did was everybody knows two things about UPS, you know, the brown uniforms and the brown trucks. Yeah. And everybody knows what UPS delivers, right? Packages. But this was right at the time that they were getting into the logistics business. And so what we did was we were kind of ahead of ourselves at the time. We created a flash mob. So follow me on this for make it a brief story. What I mean by that is we hired 7 actors. We got use of the UPS uniforms and use of the truck. And we literally went to the city of Chicago and we got permits. And we were able to circulate in morning and evening rush hour around the UPS store. And the whole key to this was the UPS truck would stop at different intervals and they would put on the flashers to the truck. The actors would get out and they would say, "What's our mission today?" And it's to deliver more than just packages. And what are we delivering? And it went into this whole rhythmic thing that was fantastic. I won't do it because I'm terrible at that. However, what happened was it got people to stop and say, what's going on? You know, they're walking, it's rush hour, etc. The important part about Starbucks is, along with our flyer, which listed all of the different services that UPS was now offering, both to consumers and business to business, we gave away the coffee cup sleeve. And the name of the project was called We Deliver. And so when you were giving out the flyer, along with we gave it with the coffee cup sleeve, they were stapled together. And if you brought that into the UPS store and got it stamped, We Deliver, we gave you a free cup of coffee. And it was huge. And we worked with Starbucks, and I don't know if they would do this today, but at the time they were very receptive to it. I got them the baristas to wear the UPS hats. Sure. We had signage in the Starbucks location. And I said, drive everybody to the UPS store and get the sleeve stamped and we'll buy the cups of coffee. Right. What that did was it gave us about 2 minutes to get people exposed to the UPS store. They actually had to come in. We were able to capture their email. Some people were more receptive to, you know, filling out a few questions, very, very short to the point. Are you business? What's your need? What's your role in the company? Are you interested in these services? Literally, it was all done within about 1 minute to 2 minutes. It was enormously successful. We did it for a week's period of time, and it was enormously successful. The database grew exponentially. It helped the B2B company, excuse me, the B2B entities really strengthen their database and their audience so far as business accounts. Consumers love the idea of it. And it really helped to open consumers' minds about all of the different services that UPS offers. Sure. The net of it, just to wrap it up, was the success of the campaign enabled us to go to UPS corporate, which is in Alpharetta, Georgia, and share it with the brand team. I'm not going to get into it, but it's a very funny story what happened. But they really liked what we brought to them. And because we did something very clever and innovative, we ended up proving ourselves to them and became their agency of record. And we opened up the UPS store nationally for the next 3 years.
Awesome.
And it was a great success story. You know, we got into a lot of different facets with it, but again, in the interest of time, it was a great success story.
I love the creativity, and I love the use of all these different tactics, right? There's the rewards, the appreciation, the recognition, the brand recognition, you know, showing the offering, getting people, you know, feet on the ground in the store. That attacks a lot of different angles. That sounds like a great experience. That's another one we'll have to come back to at some point in time. So, Keith, what is unique about Savvyuer? How does Savvyuer differentiate itself from other marketing firms?
So I would say we're not a marketing firm.
Okay.
So that would be the first thing. I would say we are a marketing destination. We're a marketing resource. We're really a business partners marketing arm. Mm-hmm. We're not in the agency business. We're not. That's not our goal. And to answer your question, Jared, I would say there's 4 characteristics, just to simplify it. I'd say the first one, which is the most important, is that we are all entrepreneurs and we're all marketers.
Yes.
So if you take, to Randy's point, and look at the coaching page on the website, and you look at our collective experience, we have touched pretty much every industry imaginable and worked with every size company imaginable, you know, from emerging brands to regional to global, et cetera. And the whole idea that we offer is we understand the challenges that business owners face. We've been there. We've either done it for a client, we've done the strategy, et cetera. So the first and biggest point of difference is everybody has real world experience. Mm-hmm. The second part is we have curated all of the content on Savvyuer, and it's all centered around marketing. You know, we're very focused on what the delivery is and making it very practical and actionable for the audience.
Okay.
The third piece is we want you to be able to take this information and immediately apply it to your business. We want to help you start to gain some traction, get some results, you know, start to get into the direction that you want to get into. And we have things like on the coaching page, a business growth map as a great example. And it's a free download that people can come in, you get a snapshot of what marketing is, and you kind of see where you're at along the journey that you're in for your business. So it's not generic, it's really all about you and your business. And then the last piece is we're flexible. So there's no, you know, too much, too little. It's really up to the user, the audience, as to how much they'd like to work with us. And we just launched 3 different modules that people can select from. And the first is called Do It Yourself. And it's where somebody could come in, you know, purchase a course, watch a conversation, you know, get the information that they need, and boom, they're gone. You know, they have everything that they need. Mm-hmm. The second is called Do It With Me. And that involves, quote, hand-holding, working collaboratively, partnership. You know, we're doing that with quite a few people right now. And we're providing the guidance. And the one thing about Do It With Me is we're here to sell you a solution, not sell you. We're here to provide you with a solution. We're not here to sell you a tactic, a website, a lead generation campaign. That is not what our goal is. It's really to provide you with the right information you need to make an informed decision.
Sure.
And the last piece is Do It With Me, or excuse me, Do It For Me. And Do It For Me is you just want to get the marketing off your plate. You know, you're too busy, you're running your business. We're the experts. Here's what I need, run with it.
And, you know, those are great offerings because, you know, being an entrepreneur myself, and I disclosed in the beginning of this that we are working together with one of my companies, Parchment. I mean, that second piece of Do It With Me was critical, right? As an entrepreneur, I don't think in marketing terms. Marketing was like an underappreciated aspect of business for me, right? But with COVID and the COVID economy, I mean, marketing is a huge piece now. I mean, there's so much noise out there that it's really important to market above the noise. So if you're an expert running your business, how much do you really want to do and be involved in the marketing piece is very individual, right? I mean, some people have some bandwidth to do it, some don't. So I think your 3 offerings are Excellent, right? Do it yourself so you can take it on if you got the bandwidth, if you've got the understanding. If you're lacking some of that, like, with my companies, it's the do it with me is a great piece. And then if you want it totally off your plate, like you said, the do it for me. I love how that's broken out. It's very clear what it is, right?
Great. That's our goal.
Excellent. So we talked about what's unique about Savvyuer. So Randy, maybe you can talk about why the entrepreneur bug, right? You guys both had very steady careers with very successful careers going. Why break off and do this on your own?
Yeah, so from my perspective, my career history involves both large multinationals and startups. So I worked for 2 startups consecutively, the second of which was acquired after a number of years. So I worked on both sides of the fence, so to speak.
Sure.
And clearly there are pluses and minuses to each. But the thing that really got me up in the morning from a startup and entrepreneurial perspective was the ability to really visualize the impact that I was having in pretty close to real time. And so in a small company, of course, there's a lot of ups and downs and a lot of undulations in your progress. But it can be frustrating at sometimes, but by the same token, it can be very exhilarating if you're doing the right things. So I like the diversity. I always have, even when I worked in large multinationals, wearing many hats. So when I was working on a marketing team at a large company, I still did a number of different marketing disciplines at those companies. But if you look at Savvyuer, for example, and what really keeps me going is on a given day, there's many things to accomplish. I can go from partner development to website messaging to finance. Maybe I'm coaching a client. I'm working on pricing models. I'm working with university MBA students to do research on, who our target customers are. I mean, there's never a dull moment, and that just really, invigorates me and keeps me going. So those are the best characteristics of startups, and why, I decided that after having worked for many years in both environments, that really startup is the one that really revs me up.
The adaptability and the variety is exciting, but it can be an emotional roller coaster too. I mean,
Absolutely.
I've spent, many years in startups. I've worked with big companies, just the same as we have some very similar background experience, just different disciplines, right?
Right.
But yeah, for most people who think about being an entrepreneur, small business owner, if you are not adaptable and you don't like the roller coaster of emotion, probably want
Not
to
for
take
you.
another, take a minute and think about really what you're doing, if this is a really good fit. So
Definitely.
glad you brought that up. So Keith, how has the project overall, how has Savvyuer been received by your friends, family, others? And has it been a slow ramp up? You kind of mentioned that you guys are seeing growth right now. Can you kind of elaborate on that a little bit?
Sure. It's being very well received by family and friends. They care about me as a person. They know my background. But what's really important, I would say, Jared, and you know this as well, is what do other people think? Are we really serving the audience? Are they receptive to the concept? Do they see the value in it? And we started out pretty quickly. We got some traction. We got some nice feedback from people. And then we got feedback through focus groups and doing one-on-one interviews that our messaging wasn't completely clear. It wasn't really articulated as well as what we were thinking it was, which is why we came up with the do it yourself, do it with me, and do it for me.
Sure.
To really make it very crystal clear what the offerings are, right? And how we can support them. One of the things, and we've been tying in with different chambers of commerce throughout the city of Chicago, and we have had just phenomenal feedback from the business owners that have attended these events. Excellent. I mean, just they love the demeanor that we take. They love the approach. They love the fact that we're educating them about marketing and the different components of it and how to think about it for their businesses. We're not going in tactical. We're going in very strategically and helping them understand basically the path. And we've created what's called a compass, a brand compass, so people can understand where they're at along the line of the compass And it's not sequential and it's not linear, it's just a compass. And depending upon where you're at in that compass, people can identify, this is what I need, this is where I'm being challenged, this is what I'm trying to overcome. And so it allows us to really identify areas of opportunity that we can help them grow.
Okay.
So the net of it is we're doing very well, and it's exciting. It's exciting.
You guys are the epitome. Like, I actually heard this term the other day used frequently in a networking group I was in, but client-centered. I actually went and did some research on it just to kind of see what the overall vibe is. You guys at Savvyuer, you have developed a very client-centered business, and I think that's important because it's really about nurturing the client's needs, right? You guys are not out to sell something if it's not a good fit for the client. I've seen it firsthand. I mean, I've been in meetings with you, Keith and Randy, seen where this has been executed, where it's really about educating, and that's an important piece. So I think that's why you're probably getting a really good reception from a lot of people, is they see that in your interactions. It's very honest and earnest in that regard. So,
thanks.
Question on the business plan and the business formation side. So Keith, did you guys create a formal business plan, or was this more back of the napkin?
It starts with the back of the napkin because it's an idea, right? I mean, I think every business does, right? You have an idea, but immediately you transfer it to a business plan. Immediately you take it. What is the offerings? What is the point of difference? What's the competitive landscape? And quite honestly, I became really obsessed with it because I've been in marketing my whole career, and I have a passion for it. And it's really important to understand where your vision fits in compared to what's currently out there and what the market needs. Mm-hmm. And so just to simplify and answer your question directly, Jared, one of the things that I did just about a year ago with COVID, maybe even a little bit before that, was I got very involved with the entrepreneurial community. Mm-hmm. I went to a number of events and networking and meeting people and, just receptions and things of that nature. And one of the things that I learned is a lot of people come up to me and say, God, I need marketing. Can you help me? And I did. I would sit down and some would start with a logo design. Some would say my e-commerce site isn't doing so well. Some would say, I don't have enough leads. I got to get more leads. And sure. So we would just kind of talk through the semantics. And the net of it is, what I realized is that every business plan has to have a marketing tab. Mm-hmm. Yep. And when you look at Savvyuer, our marketing tab was very robust because that's what I know. Yes, there was finances, there's projections, and you lean on partners, people like Randy and other team members, to kind of think through the different areas that you're not as strong in. Mm-hmm. But absolutely, you want to tie in the component of marketing into a business plan.
You guys were like the landscaper who has the most immaculate yard on the street they live on, right? I mean, I talked to other businesses about this too. I'm like, because a lot of people aren't that diligent, and it all depends on the need and whether or not you need the business plan for other things. But there's some businesses I know that specialize in a very certain area, and they're like the landscaper who has the crappiest yard on the block. Like, why wouldn't you use your services to do what you do best for yourself, right?
Right.
I'm glad to see you guys do it, and I'm not surprised actually that you guys did.
Thank you.
Relative to the business plan, we talked before, but it's you guys getting in on the journey for an entrepreneur or a new business owner is actually a great thing. So could you elaborate and go deeper into that, like why it's so important for you guys to get in early and to really make a greater impact on them?
So if you think about marketing, it's infinity. Mm-hmm. Okay, right? It's never ending. You have a product and market, it's evolving. You have a core audience, you want to expand your audience. You're starting to get leads and customers. You need to continue to engage those customers. So where we can provide significant value is in maintaining that infinity loophole or infinity continuum. That's the word. It's a continuum, and it's going to evolve. Your business is going to evolve. It's going to expand. It's going to it's going to fluctuate. But if we can come in and start to get you on the right path, then you can make informed decisions. You can make wise investments. You could spend your resources in your time where it's starting to get you on a clear path to growth, as opposed to being, very scattered.
Right.
Because it is a continuous process. I mean, take any company. Randy was mentioning BMW. I mentioned UPS. They're still marketing today, right? I mean, they're institutional brands. So you have to constantly stay engaged with consumers. To your point, Jared, there is so much messaging out there. There is so much noise. There's so much competition that it's really important to just stay in touch with your customers and continue to evolve your brand.
Sure. No, that's a great point. And I think just to add on to that, the budgeting piece, one of the things I see very common in the companies I work with, nobody has really allocated a real budget for marketing. And, going back to the business plan piece, even if you do it back in the napkin, you should be planning on spending something on getting your message out there. Because if you're not, you're wasting time. You're not gaining the traction that you could be getting, right?
Right.
So, Randy, we're going to flip over to you. And we talked about human nature before, right? How people react to events, right? How entrepreneurs, small business owners, they're constantly bombarded to this stuff. Could you talk specifically how Savvyuer approaches that?
Sure. There's several things that we do. And by the way, just to kind of set the stage, we really empathize with entrepreneurs because, like you said, we talked about noise and we talked about so many distractions that come their way that we need to think about, how we can help remove that as a barrier to making progress. So one of the very first things that we start with is, Keith mentioned it, this business model growth map that we have, which is kind of a one-page. You can call it assessment, you can call it a diagnostic, you can call it a discussion tool, but it really breaks down the business into all its various aspects and pieces. And it's kind of it's a 30,000-foot view where you can come out of a discussion with an entrepreneur using that model and say, okay, here are the gaps that we've identified, together. Here are areas that we need to focus on, and it really kind of takes a very pragmatic approach to looking at the business and deciding a direction. So that's kind of the entry point, one of the first things we do.
Okay.
Underpinning everything really is this concept that we believe in heavily, which is data-driven decision making. And I particularly had a lot of experience. I ran analytics teams as part of that, feeding back into marketing initiatives, where the whole objective is to try and take the emotion out of decision making and using that, taking the data, but everybody has a plethora of data now. It's really analyzing that, turning that into insights, and then acting on those insights. That's the challenge, and that's what we try to do in all these cases. Sure. So, really coaching a business to establish KPIs, look at the data in the right frame of reference, keep it objective versus subjective, and use that data then to measure themselves against KPIs and make progress.
I love the operations piece, sir. Randy, you're speaking my language.
And then I was just going to say that the third area, sorry. Wait,
that's okay.
The third area is probably the one that is the craziest, and that's balancing innovation and execution. And in today's business, they're really, when you look at it and you really assess it, there are very few new novel ideas. But taking an idea and executing it is what makes the difference between a successful and an unsuccessful business, in our opinion. Absolutely. And we think of this as, and some people have named it, it's the shiny object syndrome or the squirrel syndrome, where you see a shiny object or you're focused on something and a squirrel passes through your peripheral vision and it distracts you. And that is so true in today's environment. It's amplified so much in today's very short-term success environment. And so those distractions are really damaging to the entrepreneur and the business. So we try and really minimize that by trying to convince entrepreneurs to balance their need for innovation, have an innovation perspective, but then build the discipline, to prioritize decisions and create that operational balance that allows them to execute on those ideas. So we believe that's critically important.
That's such an important statement. The whole distraction piece, right? I mean, I forget what the stats are recently, but I thought it was around like you've got like 2 to 10 seconds to make an impression, or else people
Absolutely.
clicking and moving to the next thing, which very, very small amount of time, right?
Yes.
To make that impression. So you got to have something that grabs, you don't want to grab the masses, but you want to grab your target audience, right? It's
Definitely.
really critical. Great points. I love all three of those there, Randy. So Keith, what does it take to get momentum for a company? Looking at marketing, what does it take to get some momentum behind them?
It's a great question. It takes a disciplined approach to creating an integrated communications plan. And so what I mean by that, Jared, is it's thinking through your social media, your target your target audience, and then your social media. So like right now for Savvyuer, we're working with LinkedIn quite a bit. We're starting to use Instagram. Email marketing is very important, but doing it respectfully. Nobody wants an email every day from any company, pretty much. But email marketing, newsletters, blogs, we're actually getting into podcasts, ourselves, because it's a great way to communicate information and talk about the entrepreneurial journey, with people that we're engaging with. And what I mean by a disciplined approach is really planning out what your messaging is, what the channels are that you're using, so they complement one another, right? It's a continuous flow of communication. It's not, it really engages the consumer in a very respectful way. That's a really good word. So to answer your question, momentum is all about, that continuous engagement, providing thought leadership, relevant information. It's being very purposeful in your communication. It's not just regurgitating something that you could get online from anybody. There's no value there. And people get very turned off by it. So from a Savvyuer standpoint, we're very mindful of that. And we take a very disciplined approach to it. And once you lay the groundwork for it, again, you continue to evolve it, right?
Yes.
What are new trends? How does it affect the business owner? And then looking at all those different categories that I just mentioned and see how they apply. Your website is obviously your face of the brand to the consumer. So you want to update that. You want to make that engaging as well and provide pertinent information on that.
Yeah, and there's so many avenues we could go down, relative to those statements. But one thing I've learned, with my experience with you guys, is that smooth, disciplined approach pays bigger dividends than trying to fire out social media posts, like you said, like every day or every other day, even that are scattered and maybe not even to your target market, or not even related. Right, it's driving the wrong message. People think of those things as kind of spammy, right? And that's
right, absolutely
what you want to be having, or the relationship you want to have with your customers. So smooth, discipline. I don't want to say slow, because it's not slow. It's just very, like you said, purposeful. I think that's a great word to describe it. Definitely.
And continuous. The last word I would add there is continuous.
Absolutely, absolutely. So when you look at your services that you guys have, which ones get the highest demand right now?
So of the three, I would say coaching is probably, let's call it, for lack of a better term, the front door to Savvyuer. So as Keith mentioned, we have knowledge, coaching, and marketing services, and then engagement models for do it yourself, or do it with me, or do it for me. But if you look at our fundamental value proposition, it's really removing the confusing aspects of marketing, taking away the anxiety of marketing. And in order to do that, and to do that right, it really benefits from the ability to have a face-to-face discussion with a customer in a coaching session, which is non-threatening, really discussing what's most important to the business, what their goals are, and how to best achieve those. So we have lots of people come through that coaching door as kind of the front entryway. And then, of course, our job is to really maximize those customers' ROI by pointing them in the right direction, prescribing our services and or courses, for example, that make the most sense and allow them to get the maximum benefit from their investment.
Like I said, you guys run a very client-centered organization there. Definitely appreciate that. Going to jump over to Keith now. Keith, what was the biggest obstacle or the biggest challenge for starting Savvyuer, and how did you overcome that?
I would say the biggest obstacle is finding the right people that understand the vision of the company and what you're trying to accomplish. Mm-hmm. It's the most critical part of the whole equation, right? Nobody can build a business by themselves. Again, that was not my aspiration, was to just be a consultant and do this on my own. Mm-hmm. I like collaborating with people. And where some people come into the fold and they like the concept and they want to be a part of growing an entrepreneurial business, but they might not be the right fit. Sure. So somebody like Randy, I'm very, very fortunate to have collaborated with him. We're very complimentary, and I'm smiling because the way that he talks and the way that I talk are very different, but they go together. They really work together, and you need to have that. So the most challenging part is finding the right people that understand your vision and that contribute to your vision. They don't just go along with the vision. They provide a perspective. They provide insight. Mm-hmm. In a healthy way, they challenge you, right? Because you're on the same side of the fence or the same team.
Yeah.
You don't want somebody to just say yes, 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 because you're not growing. You're not right. Exactly. As you shake your head, yes. You want somebody to bring a different perspective. And where I've been very fortunate is attracting the right people that see the vision. And at some point, there were certain people that they weren't the right fit. And you have to know when to part ways. It's not that they're bad people or it wasn't a good fit. It's just not the right opportunity for both people. Sure. And so it's really important. People are the most important thing in growing a business and finding those right people.
Randy, where do you see Savvyuer in 5 years?
So it's, I think, a much stronger recognition in the market that we are, a trusted partner for small businesses. I think that's the most important thing. I'd really like Savvyuer to be synonymous with all things small business marketing and the one must-have resource if you're really going to get serious about marketing your small business. So I think it's really building out, extensively our core services that we have now, but most importantly, taking some really great momentum that we have and awareness that we've started to build and turn that into really a very prominent, trusted advisor and somebody that you just have to come to get help with really achieving marketing success for your business.
You guys are on a great trajectory for that right now. So definitely,
thank you.
I think you guys are having no problem achieving that. I'm really big about giving back to community. Like everybody who's watched the podcast knows we talk about that with every business owner or entrepreneur on the show. So knowing that it's important, how do you guys contribute and give back to, local or small business community, family and friends? Do you guys do any work with organizations, or are there other methods to use?
So Keith mentioned one of the key aspects of how we give back currently, and this is something that we'll continue to develop going forward. But currently, one of the services that we offer is we create workshops for local chambers of commerce, and we do that in conjunction with the local business to determine what the most important topic is. We do the heavy lifting in terms of creating the web shop or the webinar. And then they market and they invite their members and constituents to that. And as part of that, then we have breakout sessions and individual coaching sessions as part of the overall workshop. And we do this complimentary for the chambers. They love it because it brings value to their members. We love it because it gets us really to understand more about our target customers, and gives us good feedback to what we're providing.
Mhm.
But it's a great service based on the feedback that we get. We get lots of people thanking us for providing them some really relevant ideas and new concepts that they can go implement immediately. So that's our primary means today, and we're continuing to develop ideas around how we expand that and continue to actively provide value to the local communities and small businesses.
I love that. McHenry County Chamber of Commerce, where I live, they are extremely active, but I know other chambers aren't as much. So really appreciate you guys doing that, because you're really supporting that small business entrepreneur base by doing so. And that's the growth engine of the U.S. economy. So I think it's extremely important work what you're doing. I'm going to bounce this off both of you guys, give each other a chance to talk one-on-one about this, but how can someone listening today help you and help support Savvyuer? I mean, aside from the obvious, purchasing of your services, but is there any other way a person listening to the podcast can help contribute to you guys? Keith, we'll start with you.
Sure, there definitely is. To what Randy was just talking about with chambers, if there's other partnerships or organizations where you feel that we could deliver either a workshop or some practical information, be it via a webinar or things of that nature, let us know that. We want to get involved with different communities and different organizations. We're talking with a couple different companies right now to support their organization, which supports independent business people. Think about real estate agents, insurance agents, they have to build their book of business. And so we could provide value to them in helping them build their brand and their marketing, all within that corporate branding guidelines. So it really serves the company as well as the individual person. And charitable organizations as well, because again, chambers are a great example where we could come in and help small business owners really get this information and get practical advice and talk to people that have been there and done that and be a resource to them. So if you have that information, feel free to reach out and let us know that.
What's the best way to reach out to you guys for that? Is that through the website or?
Twofold. So on the website, by all means, it's savvyuer.com, savvyuer.com, and then grow@Savvyuer. And feel free to identify Randy or myself or both of us in the subject line, and tell us what your interest is, what your need is. If there's a partnership or an organization that you feel would benefit from the services we could provide, we'd love to hear from you.
Excellent. Randy, same question back to you. How can someone listening today help you and help Savvyuer support?
Yeah, I think Keith did a good job of summarizing a couple of other things that kind of, complement that. I think one is just simple word of mouth. If you know of somebody who's struggling with marketing and or you've been at an event and you like, our business model, feel free to please pass it on to your friends and family. And as you're doing that, if you want to learn more about what we're up to, it's real easy. We have a monthly newsletter that you can sign up for on our website that keeps you informed. We provide good blog content, tips and tricks for marketing. So no obligation. You can get some really good ideas from that and, help your own business and stay abreast of what our new offerings are. And you can also follow us on LinkedIn.
Excellent. Randy and Keith, always a pleasure sitting down and talking to you guys. Thank you for taking the time to share your experiences and to help educate the listeners about Savvyuer and all the great offerings you guys have. I'm anxious to see what the future holds for you guys. Definitely. Before we sign off, any parting words for someone who wants to start a small business or become an entrepreneur?
So think about your marketing first. Jared, you talked about it earlier as well. When you're starting out with your business, whatever kind of business it is, just think about marketing. because you can have the greatest product in the world, and if people don't know about it, you have a very small chance of really growing it into what you want it to become. And marketing can help you realize that vision. And so just early on, to your point, Jared, allocate dollars, time, resources. Just starting small is starting, but it's going to help you get much further, much quicker. So think about that marketing tab in your business plan and really spend some time with it and blow that out. Really do some due diligence with it. And you'll be grateful that you did.
Absolutely. It'll yield some big dividends in the end. Randy.
Exactly.
Nothing to add. I think you summed it up quite well. Yep.
Excellent. Well, thank you again, guys. I really appreciate it. To our listeners, be well, be safe, and be productive. Thanks for listening. Thank you for listening to the podcast. If you'd like to reach out to the guys at Savvyuer and learn more, you can reach them on their contact page on their website. That's savvyeur.com/contact. Or you can reach out to Randy and Keith. They can be both found on LinkedIn. Links to items that we discussed during the podcast are included below, which includes the Savvyuer website, their courses, services, and also ink builders. If you want to recommend somebody to appear on the podcast as a guest, please email us at info@opsqc.com. If you're interested in sponsoring a podcast, please reach out to us at the same email. We'd love to have your support.